Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am your host, River Lee, founder of the Savvy Groomer. And on this show, we talk about how to get you guys to go from being broken to healthy, wealthy, and happy, building a grooming business that you love. So I'm going to put everything on Do Not Disturb. And let's go ahead and hop into this week's. Hello, and welcome. Well, fix that. Excellent. I'm working with two monitors. I'm working on this new office setup. I actually really like it so far. It's just like anything, getting used to it. So let's go ahead and talk about today's topic. And I'm trying to figure out how to open up that monitor. So give me 1 second. I have pop out chat. Hey, Erin. Hey, Hunter. Great to see you here live. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I'm like, I know I have the topic somewhere. Here we go. If I can pull that up. Today, we're going to be talking about what is inflation and why you should care. I think so often this is talked about, but it's not really understood. And I think more than anything, people are acting like, they're using words, they're throwing around different things that they're saying, and it doesn't really make any sense. So I just want to make sure that this is pulling up with the delay is actually more than I expected. So that's okay. So let's go ahead and talk about what inflation is. So I know I have a copy of inflation, Yeah. So what I'm going to do really quick is pull up my little notes here. So if you have not heard of what inflation is, and I'm sure you have at this point, what inflation is a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money. So why is this important? The reason this is very important is because $10 is no longer worth $10, right? We've all heard our grandparents say something along the lines of, oh, I could buy a hamburger for a nickel, right? But in order to really understand what exactly that means, let's consider what a cost of a home in 1965 was versus now. And again, these are things that I have pulled up online. However, I think they're even outdated now. So in 1965, the cost of a home averaged around $21,500. So that's where you hear people say all the time, like, oh, I bought a house. What's the big deal? Well, in 1965, it was $21,000. That same home would be purchased today for about $340,000. And if you go on Zillow, you see this a lot too, right? And we can go through that as well. So this is going to really help you guys understand why you probably have to do a price increase if you have not through COVID. To give you a better idea, it was not uncommon for a Shih Tzu in the 1980s to be charging about $20, right? And so most of us right now, again, not everyone, but the prices I tend to see right now for a Shih Tzu is between $45 and $55, which doesn't sound bad until you consider that $20 in 1980 is now worth about $65. Now, this price, the $65, $64.29 to be exact, was taken during 2020. So in the last 2 years, we've actually seen an increase of 7%. So just to put in that perspective, I will pull up my handy dandy phone. So 65 times 0.07. So it's actually about $70 today. So $20 in the 1980s is now worth about $70 today. So here's the kicker, guys. If you are a better grooming salon now than you were in the 1980s, and good, better, and different, I grew up in the 90s, 2000s, and I saw the way that we treated our pets. It is nowhere near as kind, educated, and thoughtful, compassionate than we did back then. Right. There's still some very old school shops who treat pets like commodities. But for the most part, if you're listening to the show, you're going to be treating these pets like their family. So when we think about that, a good, bad, or indifferent, that means that that money is not going as far. Right. Erin's saying, I'm in Cali and inflation is off the charts. We just did another price increase. Absolutely. It's going to continue to get worse and worse. At some point, it's going to level out. But when it levels out, what's going to happen is there's probably going to be a housing crash. You see this with cars right now. I had a lease, and I don't normally do leases. I generally buy. However, about 3.5 years ago, I got a better deal to lease a car. I was able to lease a car for about $15,000 for 3.5 years or 50,000 miles when the car was worth about $42,000. Now that the car has about 50,000 miles on it, I can buy the car out right now for about $19,000 or $20,000. However, because of inflation and supply and demand, my car is now worth about $26,000 to $32,000. That's crazy. My car is actually appreciated almost 50%. Well, I shouldn't say that. Hasn't appreciated from new. But their estimated depreciation, which means that the car was worth 42, and they said, okay, it's going to depreciate about 50%. No, my car only depreciated at best $8,000, maybe $10,000. And that's a crazy amount. It actually saved me money to lease my car, which should never be the case. I always knew I was going to break even on it because I got a really good deal, but I got a very, very good deal. Now, it's really important that we consider that what you're doing, right? So with this, all of these things, what do you do, right? It's like, okay, I definitely want to deal with inflation, all that. And again, last week we talked about a post where someone was like, everyone's going to keep going up. Well, unfortunately, that's what happens, right? Everything's going to keep going up. We have to raise our prices to keep up with shampoo and overhead and good, bad, or indifferent. It's getting harder and harder to find staff because in order for staff to afford to live, they're going to continue to need to, we need to pay them more. And that's not always very cut and dry. What I generally show people is Zillow. So like the reason I suggest you check out Zillow is because Zillow is going to give you a great way for you to see what is going on in your area as far as inflation. Now, if you're living in an area where people are migrating to, you're probably going to see even higher inflation, because if someone works remotely and they were living in New York City or in California and they moved to Texas or Tennessee, they may be bringing those prices with them. So let me share really quickly. I'm going to just do Greenville, South Carolina, because this is where I was spending time. Now, if you guys in the chat while you're live want me to look in your area, I'm also happy to do that. So one thing I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for a house for sale. I'm going to say in this area, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. Okay. And I am going to put these, don't mind me making it bigger for myself to see. Let's go low to high. That's not, let's look at something not a trailer. Hang on. We're gonna look at, I don't mind looking at townhomes, or we're gonna get rid of condos, apartment manufactured. Okay. So even this house is kind of, this is a shed, but let's go ahead. We look at the shed. The shed's worth about, right now it's being for sale for $140,000. Okay. This one failed lender inspection. This is a cash only sale. Yikes. So, but let's see if we can find out how much it was worth. And it may not tell us. Let's see. I'm going to make this bigger, so hopefully we can see it all. So this house, this house was listed for sale for $90,000. let's see, it was sold for, no, there's no way it was sold for $500. That would be a lie. But here, less than a year ago, well, about a year ago, it was listed for sale for $90,000. So if you think about 90 to 140, that's $50,000. That's almost a 50% increase. Okay, that would be like your grooming prices being 50 right now and going to 100. Okay, and that house failed inspection. So a house that failed inspection is a cash only house. Went up 50%. I'm sorry, so 50 to 100 would actually be a 100% increase. So it would be more like going from 50 to 75. Okay, let's find us like a nothing fancy house. And I want to find a house that looks like this house looks like it's been on, yeah. So it's cute, it's updated, you know, nothing fancy, just a regular house. So let's go to house value, okay? So let's see if we can get, because this house hopefully has been sold before. So this house was sold in 2018, okay? 2018, so let's do our math, 19, 20, 21, 22. 4 years ago, guys, this house was sold for $52,000. Hey, Jennifer, great to see you live. So it was sold for $52,000 4 years ago. Now let's go look at, it was listed for sale. Let's see if it was sold. It was sold in 2022. Okay, so 50, let's double that to 100, right? To 150. So that house actually increased like 3 times, right? So it went from 50 to $170,000. Now that actually would be like going from $50 to $150 for your grooming. Okay. And then in 4 years, this house has gone from $50,000 to $230,000. Let's put that in context. That would be like your grooming price is going from 50 to 230. Right? Your dog grooming at $52 to 230. No one is doing that. Even the clients that I have in my price increase masterclass who are going super high are not going this high, right? So this is really important. You know, this house was sold here, right? And then immediately put on the market. So these people are buying houses that are extraordinarily going up in price. Let's look at one more. I just want to find a house that's not brand new. Again, and I apologize, my mic is like literally where I need to look. So this house sold, I would find it very hard to imagine it was sold for 1.3. So that could be a plot of land someone bought, or Zillow could be on crack. Either way is very reasonably. I'm trying to find houses that are not brand new. Okay. No, these must be all brand new houses. Here we go. This house is, there's no way this house is new. Okay. So home value. So this house, you can see here too, right? This house was worth $80,000 in 2012. So about 10 years ago. And it's now worth about $300,000. Again, this would be like your grooming prices at 80. And then 10 years later, you're at $300. Right? And we can see here. So it was sold in 2006. So if we have to go 2016, right? So that would be 10 years. And then we go 16, so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So in 16 years, this house went from $39,000 to $279,000. That would be like having your groom prices 16 years ago be at $39,000, and now it's at $270, dyslexic, $279. So why is this very important? Because oftentimes people say, I can't afford, I can't afford, I can't afford. Well, they're already paying these prices. Everything is going up. And good, bad, or indifferent, the people that in this area, let's say I'm going to use Greenville, South Carolina, because it's something I've been experiencing. The people that have lived there the whole time may not be able to afford your services. You may need to branch out to the people coming in, because the people who were paying $40,000 16 years ago may have either moved somewhere more rural. They may have decided that this area isn't for them. They may have sold their house and made a ton of money. We don't really know what they decided to do, right? But the people coming in and buying these houses that are literally triple, quadruple the prices that they were less than 20 years ago. And remember, we were looking at, $20 in 1980, right? So that's gone up 3 times since 1980, just the cost of money, right? And so we can see in houses how inflation is happening. And the real reason that it's going to affect you is twofold. One, when people that are in a buying age, they're going to be buying houses, they're going to be buying cars, et cetera, they're going to feel the pinch. Now, I will say, I have zero sympathy for anyone who is crying poor mouth and saying, I'm so poor, if they're buying a car right now. Cars are such a seller's market right now, and they could be for the next 2 years. I definitely wanted something flashier, something more fun. I was thinking maybe like a Jeep or a Mercedes or maybe like a convertible, but I'm not going to be in the market to buy right now. Why? Because it's just a bad value. The same reason that I wanted to buy a brand new house versus buying a pre-existing house. At least with a new house, I'm going to get the value of getting it exactly the way I wanted, be able to pick my colors, be able to make sure it's a layout I want and not something I have to tolerate. But to buy something that's already, unless it's a very good deal, which you're not going to really get, it's not a great time to buy. Now, everyone's going to speculate the market, and I'm not your financial advisor, right? I'm just here as a groomer talking to other groomers. But I think it's so important that we consider the way that all of this is going to take it down, right? That if you are having customers complaining about pricing, then you're not showing them value somewhere else, because it's not about the price of houses down in somewhere like Greenville. What's happening there is that people are saying, I value getting a bigger house at a smaller cost, right? It's not like I just want a cheap house. If they want just a cheap house, I could pull up Zillow. We could find mansions in the middle of nowhere for like $100,000, right? There's all these places that don't have, internet, and they don't have any kind of, I'm such a New Englander. I'm like, doesn't have like, we have a Starbucks everywhere. We have Dunkin' Donuts everywhere. We have, I think it's like 9 Petcos and PetSmarts within less than an hour. Like, we have everything really condensed. So I'm really used to that. But it's, what do you value, right? And so when you're talking about your price point and increasing your price, I like that you guys use the price increase masterclass to keep calculating that. And for those of you guys right now that have taken it either via self-study, or if you have done one of the lives and you have the recordings, I would highly suggest you're going through that at least twice a year to make sure your numbers are still adding up. It is a real problem that things are going up faster than we can even contemplate. Now, if you're mobile and you're freaking out about gas, I have done a video on that. I really would not gauge your price increases on things like gas. I think it's just really tacky. And actually, I had a really bad experience. I went to a different nail salon with my mom to get a pedicure than I normally go to. And it was kind of annoying because I had a gel on my toes. And I had gone there last time to get the gel done. And I wanted to get the $70 pedicure. And I was like, why not? I'll spoil myself. And they were like, oh, well, it's going to be $5 to remove the gel. And I'm like, but don't you have to remove it in order to do the service? And they say, yeah, but you're not getting gel, so we have to charge you to take it off. And I was like, that kind of doesn't make me feel good. You're going to charge me $70 plus another $20 to do gel. It's not something I can really take off by myself at home. And I just don't have the time right now to go in. My nails grow really, really fast. So I need to get my toes. If I do color, I have to get them done every 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't have time to commit to that. And I didn't like the feeling of that. I'm like, you're going to charge me $5. Like, I'm going to spend $70 on a service that on the low end is $30. So I'm paying more than double. And you're really going to nickel and dime me over taking off the gel. Because it's not like you could do the service. Like if I say, no, don't take the gel off, how are you even going to perform the service? I mean, I feel this way about D-sheds too. I don't think D-sheds should be an optional add-on. I just don't think it makes sense. It should just be part of the service. And so I said, you know what? If they're going to nickel and dime me and charge me $5, I'll just get the basic pedicure. And, just, not being a Karen, but just like, if it's not a pampering session, if this is not taking care of myself, like if you're going to nickel and dime me to death, then, I don't want to do the $40 one. So the $40 extra, which is $70. So I saved myself $40. I should say $35. And I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel good doing that. I would rather them increase their bottom price to like $40 and include that, right? Because it's all in one, and honestly, they don't want me to try to take the gel off at home because I'll probably take my nail off with it. I know there's some people that can do these things. They're very DIY-y. I love that about you guys. I am just not that person. You really don't want to let me do anything DIY. So that is why inflation matters to you guys. Inflation matters because it means that your prices have to go up. Even if you've done a price increase during COVID, you're probably ready for another one, or at least another reevaluation. I highly suggest right now that everyone is reevaluating their prices about every 6 months, and letting your clients know that. Say, listen, I don't want to make any more trouble for you. I don't want to cause any more stress to you, but I'm going to have to restructure, consider looking at my price every 6 months. Alternatively, if you're on a membership, I feel like you have less stress because you're not spending a lot of money on extra staff. You're not having to worry about no call, no shows. By having the membership, you have that stability and you have all of that extra comfort in your membership, as long as you've done your membership correctly. And I know I've talked to you guys 1,000 times, like, please get your membership done right. We have finished module 1 and module 3. We're finishing up module 4 of our membership masterclass. And honestly, it's taking so long because we're trying to figure out a way. What's probably going to end up happening, unfortunately, is there's 5 different membership models that we talk about. And what I'm trying really hard to do is explain the structure of each of them in about 10 slides. And that's not going to happen. So what I may have to do, and I'm really trying to avoid having to do it, is to explain all 5 of the structures in depth. Now, that would mean 5 hours of content and a whole lot of work for me. But you know what? Ultimately, if that's what I have to do, I have to do it. But I'm trying to figure out what's the best way of doing that. Rena is saying de-shedding takes longer and I pay bathers. So if it takes longer, how do we include that? I have about 60% of people who get it and 40% that don't. Well, de-shed would be the price, right? So, and again, it really depends upon how you structure your entire services, right? I think that we completely, confuse clients. We offer them services that they don't require, and then we also don't require services they need. So for instance, if I have a German Shepherd who comes and I'm just going to use round numbers because I'm lazy. Let's say a lab, because labs are easier. I have a lab that comes in every 4 weeks. I would price, and again, not my prices, but for easy math, let's say we say a lab that comes in every 4 weeks is $50. And that's, what I would say is that these prices are based on maintenance grooming. Maintenance grooming is 4 weeks or less. If you go over 4 weeks, your price doubles. It's now $100. So if you come in every 6 to probably about 12 weeks plus, you're going to be $100. And then when the dog comes in and we evaluate that it takes more time, care, and attention, it may be triple. But that's the truth. The dog that comes in every 4 weeks should be the price point. And then if they're messy or need more time, care, attention, you would need to highly include that. And again, we should be the one determining, because, I don't understand. So if I come in with a lab and it's molting and I say, no, I don't want a de-shed, it shouldn't be my choice. It should be the groomer's choice, right? Because ultimately, are you going to let the dog go out still pouring hair? Or are you going to, how are you going to be able to fully bathe and blow dry that dog and you have to get that undercoat out. It's kind of like saying if a dog is matted, like you wouldn't offer dematting or shaving mats out as an add-on package. Like if a dog came with mats, the service would be a grooming with either light dematting or a grooming with a shave down, right? Like it's not a separate service. It's the same service. It's just you've elevated that service, right? If someone came in for a bath service and they were like, okay, but they brought in a matted doodle, you'd be like, well, this is no longer a bath. This is actually a haircut. This is a higher service. Hunter said, I just include the de-shed in the price. Yep. Aaron says, we just include the de-shed and we price accordingly. Absolutely. I also think that this is why I teach points, and then I also make a big swing on pricing. So depending upon what they're going to do, or have a price high enough that it includes those things, right? So cat grooming is a really easy example because there's less coat types and things like that to explain. But if someone's like, I want a line cut, it's like, okay, well, an elective line cut's $200, a matted line cut is $300. And the price points are high enough that it covers everything, right? And the same thing too, you can do this with, small, if you only do small breed haircuts, you can say things along the lines of, if they're under, let's say 20 pounds, okay. If they get a one length all over, a half inch or less, it's $50. If they want them between a half inch and an inch, okay, well, now it's going to be $75. Okay. If you want anything more than that, or if you want a style or breed standard cut, et cetera, it's going to be higher, right? You can just do that, or you can base it upon time. We go over a lot of different options in the price increase masterclass. The biggest thing is knowing how you want your business structured and how you want to do it. I like points because points are real easy. If a 2-point dog is I call that a Shih Tzu getting like a 4-strip round teddy bear face, for easy math, if that dog is $50, if I then have a dog who wants full legs or is a little bit snarky, it's going to add another point or two. If 2 points is $50, well, then 3 points would be $75 and 4 points would be $100. So that can be really easily added and designed around it. Rena's saying if it is molting, we charge a fee for that and for a minute on top of that, because the molting has to be removed before, so we can do a de-shed. Well, and again, it depends upon, right? And this is the problem too in the industry, right? Is that we say words that don't actually have a meaning, right? Because again, what I consider a de-shed and you consider a de-shed may be totally different things. Again, this is something we're talking about in the membership class, where you actually have to define what it is to be a de-shed. To me, if your dog is shedding and it is a double coated dog, your dog needs a de-shed. Why? Because if I have the coat on a regular rhythm, and again, to me, this is like if you have a hand strip dog having a rolling coat, which is being maintained, and then a dog that needs to be stripped down to its jammies, right? Do I have to pull all this undercoat out because it's starting to suffocate the skin, which most double coated dogs start having around anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks, right? most of these dogs are not naturally shedding. And as somebody who used to breed and show labs, I hate furminators. I hate, they're a 30 blade on a stick or a 40 blade on a stick. I've seen them ruined a lot of coats. A lot of show people would tell you that, they would actually put it in the contract of them selling puppies to not use furminators. And again, it's what you want to do with your business and how you want to set it up. But, again, it's all about whatever it is that you want to do and how you want to price things, and again, there is no cookie cutter. I wish I could be like, you must do this, but it's not like that, because it's about, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? I personally think that I'm the professional and I can look at a dog and I can tell you what the dog needs. And I'm going to tell you in a very simple way. I'm not going to make rigmarole. I'm going to tell you, okay, this, you can either do this or this. And if it's one of these two things, it's generally going to be functionally based. I think that we waste a lot of time trying to sell things like, teeth brushing, which doesn't help the dog. I think that we should decide what is best for the dog based on what the client needs or what the dog needs. Most double-coated dogs that are not groomed on a 4-week schedule need a deshed. They need to have that excess coat taken out. Most of these dogs gain 1 to 5 hairs per follicle every 30 days. You can't brush that out. That must be pulled out in order for the skin to breathe. So, and if they're molting, that takes so much more time and cleanup. A once-a-year husky should start at $200. They just should, and I believe in every 4-week husky should start at $100. That's a triple coated dog. That takes a lot of time. It's a lot of cleanup. It's a lot of danger to the groomer and their lungs. I just think that we way undercharge as an industry, and inflation is going to catch up to us again. $100 for a husky used to sound like an insane amount of money, but now that $100 doesn't go nearly as far, it is what it is. So consider what's going on with inflation, decide how you want to take it accordingly. You can absolutely, decide to not worry about it and just go ahead and, just move along and do what you got to do. I highly suggest that you go ahead and let me see if I can pull this up I know I'm trying to do a zillion things, right? I'm like, I know, I really wish I love all these live shows from these, what am I calling these? I don't want to call them professionals, but they do these really cool, different, shows, and they're all really well done and really polished and all that. And I'm like, man, some days I think my show is so ghetto. I'm trying so hard to get to the point and do all these things, but I'm only one person. So I would really suggest you guys go ahead and, sign up under the Savvy Groomer, click the little follow button, like us, go ahead and do this. That way, when we are going to be launching our price increase masterclass live, you can do that. If you want to do self-study, etc., that's going to be the easiest way to do it. Rena's saying our people like our a la carte menu. We offer a lot of high-end service like hot oil, blah, 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 upgrades. Yeah. So here's the thing is that's the thing is you have to decide, do you have the staff, the time, the money to do all these add-ons? I actually have an entire video on why I don't think that that's wise. I think that it works for some people, but even these hot oil, mud bath, argan oil treatments, you very rarely make a ton of money doing them. The add-ons don't add up to the time and energy and things like that. And I think these are just so old school ideas that, as we're moving forward into a simplified, easier business model, and again, it just depends, do you want, what do you want in your business? Right. Because we're telling hot oil, customers shouldn't decide if their dog gets a mud bath or a hot oil treatment. We should evaluate the coat and tell them your dog needs this. right? Because that actually is not the right service for a lot of breeds of dogs or a lot of haircuts. If I have a standard poodle and a continental, I can't get these hot oil mud baths or argan oils. It's really going to weigh down the coat. I need to crisp up the coat in order to do certain things. And again, customers may like having choice and things like that, but it's also, are you giving them all the choices, or are you saying, I would do this or this? Because again, they're not professionals. They're choosing based upon what they think is right. And I just don't think that that's advantageous as a professional. I can't imagine my hairdresser saying, here is all the menu of items you can get for your hair, and her not guiding me on it. And then it takes so much time, especially where we are all having a hard time finding staff. Having someone up front whose entire job it is to sell and upsell and do all of that, you very rarely make your money back. But we can make that up. I mean, we've already done a whole video on upsells and things like that, and why I think that it's not that it's a waste of time, that I think that it's not as profitable as people think it is. Because if you just had people pay a higher price point instead of nickeling and diming them, and again, luxury and nickeling and diming people don't go hand in hand. I don't go to an eyelash studio and pay $200 to get my eyelashes done and then have them charge me like the nails, right? $5 for this. Yeah, but think about that, Rena. You're spending so much time guiding them and doing all of that. It's overwhelming. If there's a whole marketing behind it, really 3 to 5 is the max people should be able to choose from. And people prefer packages. There is a reason that McDonald's had tried to make their menu kind of like Cookout. If you guys have ever been to Cookout, where you can order all these things, people like that they can buy a McDonald's meal. It is a sandwich or nuggets, it is fries and a drink. And then they can choose from those things. That makes people feel safe and comfortable. Packages work really, really well. And when we spend a lot of time trying to explain to people why they should buy things, again, it all adds up. But it just depends on how you want to run your business. Everyone can run their business any way they want. I just like efficient. I like customers happy. And I just think that when you kind of run your business like an ice cream shop where they can pick whatever toppings they want, sometimes they pick bad flavor profiles or inappropriate flavor profiles, right? But that's, have you ever seen the Gordon Ramsay things like that, where people have these big menus and the customers can make their own dishes? You ever notice that it says simplify it and tailor it? It's the same thing in our grooming industry. But I do need to hop off, guys. I have to hop onto the last week of my business boot camp. I'm so excited for the first run. It went really well, and I'm really thankful for those of the people that had chosen to do this with me for the first time. There's definitely things I'm going to update and take in from other people. I really love when people come with me the first run, because it allows me to see, okay, what can I do better? What can I do this and that? And it's absolutely so wonderful. And I really appreciate it when people take that leap with me. And, this time I had given them a free one-on-one, which I really liked a lot. But yeah, so I know we kind of got off on a tangent at the end, but with inflation, guys, price increase is coming. We are going to do a live. The live will be more expensive than the self-study. So, and it does include an extra hour each week of group mentorship. So, that will be going on sale possibly this week. If not this week, definitely next week. And that will be starting mid-May. I was going to start a little earlier, but I am, there were just a few other things that I was trying to finish, and you know how it goes, guys. It's like anything, right? I'm a small business owner, just like you guys. Sometimes we're okay, set a date for this, and it's got to wait. We all have to pivot and move. And especially right now, it's figuring out what is the best thing to do. And we're all just doing our best. But I wanted about a week or two after business boot camp finished to work with my team. I have a few people that work with me to update it and get some feedback. That way we can while it's fresh in our minds, go ahead and do that. So I'm really excited. You're welcome, Melissa. She's saying thanks so much. All right, guys. Well, I will see you next week, and feel free to post in the Savvy Groomer Facebook group, which is our Savvy Pet Professionals. I like to pull questions from that. So if you guys have questions you would like me to explore on our live show, I would love to do that with you guys. All right, guys, if I can figure out how to do the end screen, so funny. Oh God, I'm like, and I know my cat's in my lap. I'm just a hot mess express sometimes, guys. I'm just doing my best. Oh, here we go. Ready? Outro. Bye, guys. As always, happy grooming.